school, homework, detention, swirlies. There are lots of reasons why someone may not want to put their kids in a typical schooling environment, and there are lots of reasons why kids themselves hate school, especially if they live in the US. Maybe not the worst education system in the world, but we sure are gunning for it. With all those reasons, it can make sense that someone may want to try out alternative schooling methods, the most popular being probably online schooling, which is something that a lot of people became familiar with in 2020. With online assignments and Zoom classes, it makes pretending to do algebra while playing Animal Crossing much easier. Then of course you have homeschooling, where your parents get to decide whether you're a dumb kid with no friends or a smart kid with no friends. But recently I found out there's a third option.
So we don't teach our children anything. Everything that they learn is in response to either their interests or their questions. We have no curriculum, we have no school hours. We really just respond whenever they want to know something and do our best to make sure they really get it.
Free schooling or unschooling is like a branch of homeschooling minus the schooling. This website says it's an educational philosophy that relies on a kid's innate curiosity and desire to learn. In families that practice unschooling, students do not attend school and do not follow any set homeschool curriculum. So they typically don't have any courses. They just go about their day, and if the kid happens to ask a question like, hey, what's math? Then the parent would explain it and try to teach in the moment, which relies on the kid to ask really good, insightful questions all the time, which they usually do. Mom, why is my booger purple? Also, during which year did the French Revolution end? But she goes on to show us an example of the unschooling her son has been doing.
My son's 6, and it took some patience and not comparing myself to other moms, but this is his book. Look at this. Lamp, egg, jar, lion. This is him doing this by himself.
So her son is 6 years old, and this is seemingly the first time he's ever written words down. All of the top comments are pointing out that this isn't very advanced for a 6-year-old, and I don't have a way to gauge whether it is or not, so I asked my mom, who homeschooled 5 kids. She said, well, there are way too many factors to consider. Are they a first child with a stay-at-home mom? Is their birthday at the end of the year? Then wrong there. That's the wrong there, Mom. Yeah, that looks about like I would expect a 6-year-old to write. That doesn't seem extraordinary. And then, of course, she closed it out with the smirking emoji because she thinks it's just a regular smiling emoji, and I am not going to explain to her why it's not. But regardless of skill level, I don't know that this can be called writing, not because of how it looks, but because she mentions he's been going around the house and copying these words down, so he can't write them from memory and probably doesn't know what they mean. He's just mimicking the lines of the letters, so this is more like drawing. She's also said that they teach in moments exactly like this. This is where they would educate while the kid is showing interest in the topic, but I don't think she did that.
This is him doing this by himself.
From what we can see, they didn't go into any more depth. There isn't any more writing aside from what he put there initially, so they didn't turn it into a lesson and have him practice. But they did stop to make a TikTok, so while he's not getting a proper education, at least his parents are using him to become social media influencers. Phew. My light just went.
And my big fear about free schooling was that if my kids only went towards what they were interested in, saving all of their real estate only for things they're interested in, not cramming it with anything necessary, I was concerned that they would never be interested in things like reading and writing and math.
To counter this fear, have you tried teaching them reading and writing and math? It's really good for kids to learn at this age, and he clearly wants to. If you don't make an actual plan to educate them now, this is the level that they're gonna stay at. The motivation is only gonna decrease. Hey, Timmy, you wanna learn about the alphabet now? Egg. Timmy, it's not cute anymore. Egg. Timmy, you're 17. Egg. But something Timmy would want to learn about is today's sponsor. Timmy. This video is sponsored by Opera. Whenever I'm editing on a time crunch, I have a tab open for music, a tab open for sound effects, one for PNGs, one for pictures of Riz Apple, and then bam, suddenly I have 33 tabs open at the same time. Opera is a web browser that offers a variety of features, including context-based tab grouping that makes your tabs cuddled together and save space. So no matter how disorganized your mind is, Opera makes it look like you have things under control. I'm a big fan of their built-in ad blocker that you just toggle on or off, no extra steps or extensions required. It makes everything move more smoothly, and the sidebar feature is also great because you can control your music and check messages without having to open more tabs or close out of the browser. It's just all right there. You can even customize your Opera browser with their wallpapers. They've got animated ones, or you can add your own. And with their Aria feature, you can ask questions and get immediate answers from the web. It's also available in the sidebar, so always there if you need it. Or you can highlight text and it'll give you a quick description of the word or topic you're looking at. If you want to check it out, just use my link in the description and download Opera today. Thanks to Opera for sponsoring, and let's get back to the video. She says he'll ask about math sometimes too.
Same with addition. Mom, what's 7 plus 5? It will come at the right time.
Why does she pause like this? The stare that she does is so scary. If my mom looked at me like this after I asked a math question, I would never ask one again. But maybe this is a one-off. Maybe she was just really excited, and typically she does turn questions like this into a teaching moment.
When you say that somebody's bad energy and you don't like them because they're bad energy, what you're really saying is that they remind you of yourself.
What if that was a teaching moment? What if they were about to ask what trigonometry is? While she doesn't push her kids to learn things like reading and writing, she does make sure to give lessons on the really essential things.
There was a god named Kronos, and he was so afraid that one of his babies was going to take over his kingdom that he said, every time one of my sons is born, I'm going to eat that. I'm gonna eat my own son.
Learning the ABCs? No. We're too busy learning about cannibalistic deities. It's more important, and Kronos is really cool. He kinda ate. Her child is asking questions here, but mostly because he doesn't know what the fuck is going on.
Why is he gonna eat his own son?
Because that's the nature of chronological or Chronos time.
Ma'am, this child is not learning anything from what you just said. Even if this kid understood what that answer meant, it wouldn't be an answer, because her answer was just, that's just the nature of chronological time. Just because it does, that's how it is. You can tell he's completely lost, but it doesn't matter because this lesson isn't for his benefit, it's for hers. More specifically, it's for her business's benefit because she promotes her book and website at the end of it. On that website, you can get some of her free audiobooks, or you can enroll in her school workshop for money. So she can teach, but only if you're a paying customer. Maybe your kids would be able to read if they weren't so broke. Oh, you want to count to 100? Why don't you put 100 big ones right here first? Let's start there. One of the key points in unschooling is that the kids learn life skills and not just scholarly ones. For example, how to cut vegetables.
I'm amazed. Technique, baby. Technique. Good job.
Is the point of this to prove that unschooling is effective here? Because to me it just proves that over the course of 4 years your child developed fine motor skills, and I don't think unschooling is responsible for that. If anything, they should be way better at this. If they're at home doing it all the time, they should be Zorro at this point. She's got a literal baby waving a knife around, and the only warning she's giving is in a sing-songy voice.
If you cut your finger wrong, na 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 na. So be careful now, baby.
This kid does not have the motor skills or the mental capacity to understand how dangerous this is, especially when she's acting like it's a silly thing happening. I'm gonna go in that door. Don't go in there. Whoa, why not? It's very dangerous. You will probably die. Your demise is imminent. Those seem kind of important though. While I was looking into this account, I stumbled onto another unschooling mom.
Day one of unschooling, and I've got my kids helping me to clean the car out. Teaching them hard work, taking care of the things that you love, that you need, and also getting the car clean.
Oh, so like chores. You're educating them by having them do regular house chores. You can't claim that cleaning the car and learning hard work is an acceptable replacement for actual curriculum. Cleaning and taking care of things is something that kids should be learning on top of their regular education, not instead of. This parent said she pulled her kids out of school to do this because she was unhappy with the public education system.
We have 52 days until I pull my child out of public school and start unschooling him. Lots of hands-on stuff to teach him these things, not just reading out of a fucking book, which is what's wrong with public school.
And while yes, there are a lot of things wrong with the public education system, I don't think that books in and of themselves are what's wrong with it. Books are usually pretty helpful, learning-wise. Not to be controversial, I don't know if she had maybe just a personal bad experience with books. You've got a lot of nerve showing up here.
It's been 5 years. Just let it go.
Let it go? You stole my college application essay.
Not this again.
I didn't get into Yale because of you.
I was in a bind.
Give me my paper back. And again, none of these are actual lesson plans. This is just hanging out with your kid, which is important, but so is being able to read a ruler. Very weird hat. Or even knowing what a number 2 pencil is. Why do they call it a number 2 pencil? Why don't they just call it a poopy pencil? She also claims that going to the grocery store qualifies as an unschooling lesson.
now they're gonna go grocery shopping with me, and we're gonna learn about reading labels. We're gonna learn about math and money. When you're buying groceries, you need to make sure that the quality of it is good. So turn it over. See the prices on them right here? You typically want to make sure that you pick the lowest price.
These are just regular life skills that you should be teaching your kid whether they're unschooling or not. And how many times can a trip to the grocery store count as school? Because after a few, they're probably good to go, right? And next we have Timothy, graduating with a bachelor's in putting things in the cart and a minor in not buying rotten strawberries. Thank you. They said I couldn't do it. F the haters. Look at me now. When explaining her unschooling plan, she said the main things she'll be focusing on are starting a garden, great, and that she's gonna be teaching them how to establish boundaries, you should be doing that already, and she's gonna teach them how to bake and cook, you should do that already, and also sports.
Also gonna be doing lots of sports. So he'll be in any sport, every sport that we can possibly think of, because we will now have time to do so.
Okay, so now that we've listed all the extracurriculars, what are you gonna teach them?
I'll be taking them to the aquarium and zoos and learning through life experiences.
Oh,
They're gonna learn through life experiences, kind of like everyone else who is alive. The only references she makes to actual school subjects are like this.
Day 2 of unschooling, and we're at the park learning how to have fun. But before you get your panties in a wad, listen. Yes, we're going to be doing reading and writing and math and maybe science, but it's not going to look the same as traditional public school. It's going to be different.
These are just things that you should have mapped out before pulling your kids out of school. I never do anything for my kids without a plan, and I have 2 billion of them, and I make sure each and every one of them has a bed made out of galvanized steel with eco-friendly wood and a mattress that I borrowed from my aunt. Based on some of her older videos, it seems like she made this decision due to personal issues she was having with her kids' school.
The other day, or a couple weeks ago, she sent home in his folder a piece of paper that had a signature side and a date side. And she told him, didn't say nothing to me. Told him to tell me I needed to take his homework out of his folder every single night, sign and date this piece of paper, and send it back to her every single day.
This video has been deleted now, but she's complaining that her son's teacher asked her to sign and date his homework every night, which is usually just to show that you're involved in your kids' schooling and that you understand what they're currently doing in school. And of all the things you have to take care of as a parent, this seems like one of the easiest ones, but she literally refused to do it.
Now, listen, I took that piece of paper out and I said, I'm not doing that, baby. I run a massive business through social media. I don't have time, literally.
I don't have time to help with my kids' education. However, I do have time to be completely and solely responsible for it. What's really sad about this is that her kid clearly wants her to sign. He makes a comment about some kind of reward system they have, some bonus he gets, and she can't be bothered. But isn't the point of unschooling to put your kids' individual needs first? Isn't the argued benefit that your teacher is your parent who knows you really well and has your individual best interests in mind? If you couldn't do that for literal seconds every night, what makes you think you're gonna be able to do it 24/7 every single day? For some reason, she titled this Teacher on a Power Trip, and the teacher is just asking her to do something that probably all the parents are asked to do. It's a very simple instruction, and I thought that those were important to her.
Teaching them how to follow instructions.
Those who can't do teach, I guess. The way she describes her unschooling plan just sounds like a pretty immature grasp of what it's gonna take. It's almost like the kid is the one who came up with it. Okay, so first we're gonna go to the park, okay? And then we're gonna go to the swimming pool. Then we'll do school. I'm not done. Then we're gonna go to the grocery store and buy 500,000 Go-Gurts. How is that school? It's math, bitch. Another concern people had with her unschooling was her kids losing the socialization they get at school. And her response was, oh, they don't need that actually.
We don't actually need socialization skills. We need to know how to communicate, which you can do with your parents. We need to know how to connect, which you can do with your parents. And those are skills that you take for the rest of your life to make friendships.
All of the things she's listing are things you learn from socializing. We don't actually need socialization. We need to know how to socialize, how to be social, how to interact with people socially in a social way. Her argument is kind of that you can get all the socialization you need from your parents and don't need to hang out with kids your age. And she believes that going to the grocery store is also a form of socialization.
There's so many ways you could teach your child how to be social. Take them on grocery shopping trips. Take them to go to the zoo, and teach them how to talk to people. Lead by example.
I had no idea that going to the grocery store was so beneficial. It's a math lesson, it's a social visit, it's kind of a one-stop shop, I guess. She also has this video, which isn't a great sign.
If the worst thing that happens to my kids from unschooling is not knowing how to socialize, I think they'll be fine. I never leave my house and don't like people either, but I'm still happy and successful.
And if she's leading by example,
lead by example.
Something tells me they also won't leave the house a lot. And it's kind of hard to practice the unschooling method and learn through life experiences when you aren't having any experiences. But I'm sure they'll never get tired of hanging out with their parents or struggle to connect with people their age in the future. Hey, you want to grab a drink with us? If we go to Applebee's, I have a coupon. Oh, we were thinking like a club. Ooh, love a good club. Very hard to get the mayo right though. No, like dancing. Now you're talking. Why are your pants so high?
What happened happens when you send your kid to a classroom for 8 hours a day? That is outside influences impacting your child, because what they're going to learn isn't just coming from you. Beliefs that they're going to have aren't just coming from you.
Isn't that a good thing though? Your kid shouldn't only believe and think things that you think. Shouldn't they get a bunch of different opinions and beliefs from people and get a variety of perspectives? If your idea of schooling is making sure that your kid thinks exactly like you, that sounds less like education and more like conditioning. And unschooling is supposed to be about specializing your kid's education based on their specific ideas and interests. You can't tailor education to an individual if you don't see them as an individual. Also, the successful business she keeps referring to is a pyramid scheme.
I'm very proactive inside of my profession and my career of being an entrepreneur. They're likely going to follow that path because they're going to see how successful.
So, at least she can teach them shapes. A little bit of this reminds me of how I was raised. Again, I was homeschooled. You probably didn't know that. Just kidding. It's probably the only thing you know about me. Sorry, okay? Sorry I'm so mysterious and suave. Sorry I'm so shampoo coated. But my homeschooling wasn't really in an attempt to make me more prepared for the world or because I couldn't necessarily handle a typical school environment. It was more because normal kids are secular and besties with Satan. Sometimes they say things like, hey, you should smoke this, or fart, and both of those are equally as bad. The sole reason for my being homeschooled was religion and being able to limit the amount of interaction I had with the outside world, whether it be people or media. I wasn't allowed to watch PG-13 movies until I was 22. Just imagine being told you're not allowed to watch Jumanji, the Kevin Hart one, as a tax-paying citizen. And I think I would be better at a lot of things if I'd been able to interact with people my age before I was basically in my 20s. I missed out on a lot of skills, like how to interact with people, how to not perceive every human being as a potential threat, how to order a milkshake at Sonic without breaking down in tears. Isolating your kids and making yourself the only presence in their life is probably less about what's good for them and more about what's good for you. And it's completely normal to have anxieties about where your kids are or how outside sources are going to affect them, but that doesn't mean that you should stop them from interacting with outside sources at all. That just sounds like you have anxieties that are being passed down to the next generation, like an heirloom, like a little apprehensive piece of furniture. You okay, man? Yeah, just some chest pain. And I'm not saying you shouldn't homeschool your kids or do alternative schooling, because I'm sure a lot of kids would benefit from something like that. But just don't do it bad. Just do it good. Otherwise, your kid's gonna end up like me in 20 years, and you don't want that. That is a threat. Anyway, guys, I gotta go to the grocery store for the 5th time today, so I gotta go.
Fiction is true the same way numbers are true, I would say. Like, you know, if you have one apple and one orange and one banana, the commonality between all of those three is 1. And you might say, well, is 1 as real as one fruit? Is the abstraction 1 as real as one fruit? And I would say, it depends on what you mean by real, but representing things mathematically and abstractly gives you incredible power, and you could make the case that the abstraction is actually more real than the phenomena that it represents.